Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where in the world you're joining us. Hi, my name is Rosalie Olmstead. I'm WESIS Executive Assistant. It is an honor to have you all here today, and it's specifically with our strategic partner, ServiceNow. But before we get started on their webinar, I would like to give you a quick overview of the WESIS organization. We often go by our acronym, WESIS, because that is exactly what we are, a cyber sisterhood. WESIS is a 501c3 nonprofit organization with a mission to recruit, retain, and advance women in cybersecurity. Our community is made up of over 10,000 members in 99 different countries. We have 70 professional affiliates and over 300 student chapters around the world. We offer a variety of initiatives and skills development programs, including our leadership series, the Job Board Plus, Speakers Bureau, our annual conference, which is coming up from April 2nd through the 5th in Dallas, Texas, our mentor-mentee program, book club, and so much more. We owe all of our wonderful initiatives and programs to our strategic partners who fund us year-round, specifically our Tier 1 partners being Akamai, Amazon, Bloomberg, Carnegie Mellon University Software Engineering Institute, Cisco, Ford Motor Company, Google, Lockheed Martin, Microsoft, Optum, Sandia National Labs, and SentinelOne. And a special thanks today for ServiceNow, who is participating in this webinar. Please do not forget to ask your questions throughout the webinar. You have a question box underneath at the bottom of your screen, and we are dedicating a set amount of time at the end to get to as many questions as we can. If we're not able to, please feel free to connect with our speakers on LinkedIn. And lastly, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to WESIS newsletter and to stay up to date on all the upcoming events and programs. You can find it at wesis.org in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jake with ServiceNow.
Thanks so much, Rosalie, and hello, everyone. Welcome to Unlocking Your Cybersecurity Path and Finding Your Niche Early. My name is Jake Adam, and I will be the moderator today. A little about myself. I'm a senior technical recruiter at ServiceNow in the early and career organization. I've been in San Diego for the last 5 years working with the company and with a focus on our internship program and new grad hiring for the past 4. Before we get started, let's start with the introduction of our great panelists today. And I want to turn it over to start with Kriti.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kriti Kharbanda. I work as an application security engineer with ServiceNow. I'm based in Chicago. I've been in the industry for almost 3 years, have been working with ServiceNow for almost 2 years now, was an intern in the summer of 2022, and then joined back as a full-time in 2023.
Great. And next, I want to welcome our panelist, Isha.
Kia ora, everyone. My name is Isha. I'm a cybersecurity compliance analyst here at ServiceNow. I'm based in Auckland, New Zealand, and I've been in the industry for about 3.5 years, and 1.5 years of that has been at ServiceNow. So yeah, I'm excited to be on this panel and see if we can help you guys out with anything.
Perfect. So we're coming at you worldwide. And next, I want to introduce Jalen.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. I'm also really excited to be here today. My name is Jalen Cabrera, and I'm an application security engineer on the customer security and trust team here at ServiceNow. I'm currently based in San Francisco, California, but I'm originally from the East Coast, born and raised in New Jersey. And I've been both in the industry and full-time at ServiceNow for about a little over 1.5 years since last June. And I also interned with Kriti in the summer of 2022.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jalen. So next, we're going to get started into our panel discussion with our Q&A. If there's any questions that you would like to hear from the panelists that we do not get to in this section, please make sure that you are putting it in the question portion of the chat. But to get started, just wanted to ask each of you, we'll start with Isha, how did you get started with cybersecurity, and what really sparked your interest?
Yeah. So the funny thing is, I actually never planned on working in cybersecurity. I didn't really know that much about this field to be interested, right? So I was studying information systems and business analytics at university. And I actually remember doing an Infosys course, which was focused on network fundamentals. And I actually absolutely hated it. I thought it was way too technical. I actually joked with my friend that, we're never going to do anything like this in the future. And, fast forward a couple of years, I work in the field of security. So you're probably wondering like, what's changed? And everything changed when I first started like my job in consulting, and I actually got an opportunity to work in the risk and compliance space, and I really enjoyed it. And I think what I enjoyed the most about this was it wasn't too technical for, that's not something that I really enjoy. So I loved how it was more focused on risk, understanding controls. And I think that's what really sparked my interest. And I was like, I want to do more engagements in cyber. I want to this is something that I want to have as my career going forward. So looking back, I'm really glad that I gave cyber a chance because, I'm really happy being here and I'm excited for the future. So yeah, that's a bit about my journey.
Awesome. Yeah, you don't know what you don't know until you get into it, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. And next, we'll ask Jalen the same question.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. So I think honestly, my journey into cyber started off pretty early on in my life. Growing up, I was kind of almost like the designated kind of tech support person in my family, in my house. So that definitely meant that I got to learn a lot about technology, and I had to kind of figure out how to solve all these problems with like the laptops we had. If there was a day where the printer went down, like that was my task. And so I think what started off as like a chore or something tedious that I maybe didn't want to do in the moment kind of ended up being something that I really enjoyed once I figured it out. And so I think just from all of those experiences, that's what kind of led me to decide to major in IT in undergrad. And, really from there, I feel like everything kind of skyrocketed once I started college. Like, by my sophomore year, I had decided to specialize in security. I started taking, advanced courses and all these different topics that I thought were so cool and so interesting. And yeah, and then, I also just spent a lot of time, self-teaching myself topics, researching all these different things. But yeah, and since then it's been quite a journey, but I definitely still keep those memories of being that tech support person in my family. We are very close. So yeah.
Awesome. So you were the geek squad at your own house before you even joined the journey, as Best Buy would say. Awesome. Great. And then same to you, Kriti. What got you started?
I would say for me, it's very similar to both of them because initially I started my undergrad, which was very early. Like I decided what I want to do. I was not sure if I actually want to pursue engineering. Like I did engineering for my undergrad and I ended up doing engineering and I thought like, okay, now if I have to do engineering, let's explore. So I started taking courses and exploring more areas beyond my major, and that's when I discovered my interest in cybersecurity. I joined the OWASP club. There was an OWASP club in my university and dedicated a year to research in the field and published a paper, did a conference, like couple of conferences where I presented my research. And then after I graduated, rather than going for like everyone was going for like the typical roles, I started working for a startup. I spent a year working there before I came to US to pursue my master's degree. And one more thing that I was very much invested in since initial days was investing my time in communities. For example, VSIS. And I think all of this all together just made me strong. Yeah, like cyber is the thing where I was all totally inclined to, and totally grateful for the unexpected turns that led me to this domain.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So jumping into our next question, when it comes to identifying a niche in cybersecurity, what are the most popular fields for newcomers to consider? And we'll actually jump right back to you, Kriti.
So I feel the most common and the most approachable ones for the newcomers are analyst level roles. the incident response, SOC, security engineer roles. And I'm seeing this because this is something very similar I did when I started working, and I'm also doing right now. I was a cybersecurity analyst specialist, you can say, and then now I work as an AppSec engineer, which is very similar to a security engineer, you can say, because these roles give you an option to apply broader skill set and also gain a varied skills like when you're working on them. So I think these are good for the newcomers.
Nice. And that actually speaks to some of the internship and new grad roles that we have in security at ServiceNow. So I can definitely see that being an entryway for newcomers. Awesome. And Jalen, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll definitely add that I 100% agree with Kriti. I think, roles in incident response and in security operations really lay out a really broad exposure to so many different issues. And, those who choose to kind of start off in those roles are kind of set up really well because it really helps you build a really solid foundation, especially if you want to move into like more specific roles like, pen testing or being on a red team, etc. So, yeah, I think those roles are great. And also, as someone who was like a security operations intern, I can definitely say that, no 2 days are ever the same, which is both a challenge, but it can also be very fun. And it also just allows for, a lot of learning and a lot of growth.
Awesome. And like you said, no 2 days are ever the same. And I think that also speaks to technology. I think there's no 2 years that are ever the same because there's always new technology coming in. And with that said, as we see emerging areas like AI and automation shaping career growth in cybersecurity over the next few years, and will these advancements make it easier or harder to find a niche with these new developments? Isha, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so I think with AI adoption like increasing within organizations, there's definitely going to be a demand for more technical roles within like AI, like security, and also non-technical roles. So, for example, when you think about AI use within the organization and making sure that employees know how to securely use AI, right? So you have that, training and awareness roles will increase. Also, complying with AI regulations, working on policies and like guidelines around AI use within the organization, vendor risk as well. So, a lot of these non-technical roles, there'll be a demand for. And also in the technical space, like how do you secure your AI systems, so making sure that, they're safe from attacks, right? Also being able to implement AI tools, within the different domains, like, okay, can we implement AI in areas like incident response or, vulnerability management? So there's a lot of growth in terms of like the job aspect. Well, I think these advancements will make it easier or harder. I hope that it will make it easier. So, we actually don't know how AI will like play out in the future. There's all this talk about will it take away jobs, right? So I think like there's like a couple of aspects to this, right? So if you increase your knowledge in AI and be able to use those tools to help you in your job, I think I see that will, help it easier, make it easier for you to get jobs in this field. So we don't really know how this is going to turn out, but I really hope that it will be like good, so yeah.
Teamwork with technology to grow. I love that. Thank you so much. And Jalen, I think you had something to add to that as well.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add, given the current AI race that we're in, I definitely agree with everything that Isha kind of touched on. I personally think that with the AI-driven detection kind of tooling that we have now, it's definitely served as a kind of a boost in growth, right? So, as AI and machine learning keeps advancing, it'll help in cybersecurity as well. It'll help professionals kind of do their jobs better, help them do their jobs more efficiently as well. So, I think all of these changes are also going to lead not only companies, but larger enterprises to kind of seek individuals that can, one, adapt to all of these changes, but can also understand the relationship between AI and security, because I think that's kind of a niche in itself. Like, if you're already a security practitioner or you're a security engineer, but you have a really big interest in AI, that's kind of its own subset of a role or even like a team dynamic. So yeah, I think it'll definitely create kind of better opportunities for sure.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you so much. So next we're going to jump into a little bit more of like the skill development and career pathways, but I did want to drop in the announcements real quick. That a link for our ServiceNow talent community, just a little bit of plug there, so you can see what's coming out in the future for virtual events in person. So please take a moment to click on that as well, so you can see what's coming up. But next I want to jump into the skills or qualities. Like what do you believe are important for women pursuing cybersecurity roles? And particularly soft skills, like how can these skill sets set someone apart that's trying to join the cybersecurity industry? And Kriti, I'll turn that one to you.
Okay. I think the most basic and required for any security role is that knowing and understanding the security terminology. Like knowing the basics is important, either you're going for a technical or a non-technical role. And generally speaking, understanding the current trends, like what's happening in the field of cybersecurity, the threat actors, the emerging technologies, as we were talking about AI, like how can that affect security, adaptability, and definitely like how all of this can add value. So now we are talking about the different kinds of skills. So there are, like, if we do divide by technical and soft skills, there are a few technical skills which are important, such as the analytical skills. And analytical skills include exploring, trying to dig deep into things. For example, web scraping, or trying to figure out if there's an incident, how to get after it and figure out the incident threat response to it. And there are different platforms that you can use to build those analytical skills, like try hack me, hack the box, play lots of CDFs. And then comes like the familiarity of programming languages and the security tooling. And the other part, the soft skills that we were talking about, and the major part of the question, I think soft skills such as communication and teamwork are crucial in cybersecurity, because you should be able to convey your thoughts, your ideas clearly, and collaborate effectively across the departments. Because these soft skills are what are going to actually help you enhance those problem solving skills and foster a culture of security within organizations. That's what I believe.
Nice. Thank you so much, Kriti. And then Isha, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything Kriti said. I think one thing with skills is this is a helpful tip to anyone. Have a look at roles that you're interested in, and then have a look at a couple of job descriptions and see what skills are listed out there. So that will give you a good indication of, what kind of skills I need to develop, right? So for example, you're looking at a particular kind of analyst roles, and there might be like, okay, knowledge of these tools, right? Or maybe good documentation, reporting skills, So, just kind of make a note of what skills that you need to get, and then trying to then work off there, right? And in terms of soft skills, I think just to add, I think how cybersecurity is such an evolving field, adaptability and continuous learning is very important. You have to understand, keep up to date with new threats, emerging technologies, tools. And I also think that, cybersecurity can be often seen as there's so much jargon, there's just so technical. So being able to break down these concepts and be able to convey these meanings, especially to non-technical stakeholders within the business, I think that is very important, and that will be something that can set you apart, from others. So, yeah.
No, it's perfect. And I think too, like anybody that's looking even specifically with ServiceNow to join, the company at an early in career level, like one of the things that we are looking for that just keep our culture strong is that collaboration piece, not being afraid to work with others, and that curiosity, having that mindset of like, like you said, you said like the growth mindset, and just always continuously learning. I think that will set you up for definite success wherever you're at. So perfect. Really appreciate that. Next, we're going to jump more into overcoming challenges and choosing a niche. And so when thinking about some of the challenges that you face finding your niche, how did you overcome them? And what advice do you have for like maybe experimenting or gaining exposure to different roles? Jalen, I'll ask you first. When it comes to overcoming those challenges, what would you say?
Yeah, so I think when I was in the process of finding my niche, I definitely faced quite a few challenges. And I think for me, kind of the biggest hurdle that I had to overcome is really sitting down and kind of narrowing down the vast areas within cyber that, I was interested in or I was looking to work in, which honestly felt pretty overwhelming, at first, especially being, a young student in undergrad. I think I was really starting to get serious about it towards like my junior and senior year, right before I graduated. So I kind of sat down and I kind of said to myself, I really need to figure out where I could add the most value, and then two, what am I genuinely passionate about? And I think after sitting down and reflecting on that, I was kind of able to overcome this by just seeking out experiences, right, and really putting myself out there. And so I really think I kind of accomplished this by doing internships, completing personal projects, seeking out mentors, and going to networking and job events. And so that kind of helped me, learn about the day to day for each of the roles that I was interested in, and also just understand how, team dynamics kind of work in cybersecurity, how different security teams work together in an org. So my advice for others would be two things. Sorry. The first would be to definitely be patient, because it is a work in progress. And even now, like I work full time as a security engineer, but I feel like every day I'm still kind of figuring out what I want to do next, where my interests will go. So definitely be patient. And then the second thing I'd advise is to be intentional. And I say this to mean, try to gain as much exposure as you can, really put yourself out there, and don't be afraid to reach out to others. If you see someone on LinkedIn that works on a really fun team or it looks like they're doing some really interesting work, like feel free to just message them and try to get involved and just try to learn.
Yeah, just getting exposure anywhere you can. That's great stuff. And Kriti, I'll ask you the same thing. What are some of the challenges that you faced finding the niche when it came to cybersecurity?
I would totally say that it's very similar for me, as Jalen said, that it was very overwhelming for her initially. It was very similar for me because everything in this domain is very interesting. Especially for me, it was very interesting. And I wanted to do hands on, try everything, but there's a lot. You can't do everything at once and then be like, okay, this is what I want to do. And while I was going through all of this happened totally unintentionally, but I started attending workshops, sessions, webinars like these, and talks, and also was working on the cybersecurity communities. So they played like very important role because they conducted a lot of sessions. For example, VSIS did, and I was also a part of the mentor mentee program. And then there's another community that I work very closely with. It's called Breaking Barriers Women in Cybersecurity. So these two communities, I attended like as many sessions as I could with them, met people, went to conferences, I was doing all of this to actually figure out the projects that I'm actually working on in my master's degree. I was doing my master's at that time. Is it actually exactly how it is going to be in the industry, or the things that they are working on, how different those areas are actually? Because when you're doing something academically and when you get into the company, things are different. They go in different directions. So that really helped me, I think, to narrow down my search and to find my inclination. And my advice here would be go hands on, take the experience. Like as Jalen was saying, try to do as many things as you can by yourself. Like example, do the internships. As she said, she did so many internships that really helps. Participate in workshops, do your own projects. I feel that really makes a difference. Like when you're trying to collect data, for example, as we were talking about the data scientist people that are like they do a lot of projects, same way you can do it on your cyber things. And try to engage yourself, upskill yourself by taking the online courses. I mentioned about try hack me before. Try hack me is a great platform. Any area of the cybersecurity domain that you want to explore, they have set of courses on that. So I think try hands on that one, because it opens up a lab. You are going to read about it, do the lab. And the last thing that I want to talk about is, and I cannot stop stressing about, is networking. Attend conferences, attend industry events, network with professionals in different fields, and that does provide like very valuable insights that are required to set your mind straight. Like this is what I want to go to. So that's that's all.
So I'm starting to sense a theme here with all three of you, with how you've been so successful in your careers so far, is just going above and beyond, getting out there, taking risk, and really taking the opportunity that you can. So that's awesome. That's great to hear. Next, jumping more into, understanding that cybersecurity is a high pressure field. I want to ask, how do you manage work-life balance, and what advice do you have for others navigating similar challenges? And Kriti, we'll stay with you on that one.
Okay. So I agree. It is indeed a high pressure and a very challenging field. Like every day is a new day. Like we were talking about, like it's not going to be like 2 days in a row you're working on the same thing. And therefore is very crucial, I feel, to set boundaries, like set clear boundaries. And when I say boundaries here, I'm trying to say decide how much you're willing to invest your time into it, like how much you want to give your time to it. It's perfectly fine to focus on one task a day and complete it efficiently. However, you have to be prepared for those intense occasional days where you might have to put in extra hours, and set your time limits. I would say, like, do not neglect your personal life. Even when you have like very busy work days, finding that balance is the key to stay sane and continue to grow and enjoy the journey. Otherwise it's very easy to get like worked out in this one. And for personally, what I do is I take short breaks. Like for me, is those 15-minute breaks work really well. Like if I have like a day full of meetings, I would take 15-minute break, then come back to it. And I have a set time when I keep my laptop aside in the evening, and then I do not open it until the next morning. If like until unless something comes up and I really have to. Otherwise, I have my time. That's my time, me time, not gonna see it. I know it's hard, but I think it's also important to prioritize the rest in your life.
Perfect. Yeah, no, absolutely. Prioritizing is definitely a priority in keeping that work-life balance. Thank you. And Jalen, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Cybersecurity is probably one of the most high pressure jobs there are. And with that, it's also so fast paced, right? So you have to keep adjusting and adapting to, all the issues that you may run into. But for me, I mean, I definitely try to manage my work-life balance, through time management and also just through self-care, right? So, I make it a priority to kind of organize myself and, like Kriti was saying, set boundaries, say I'm going to work on a task for an hour and a half, and then after that, I'm going to move on. And just being strict with that, because I think it kind of adds up every day. And then with that, I'm also just a firm believer, like Kriti said, in taking short breaks. I like to go on, afternoon walks during lunch just to kind of recharge, get a fresh mind in, and sit back at my desk. So my advice for everyone would be to just treat this balance as something that's essential to your well-being, because in reality, it really is. I really do think that you can't do your best work if you don't feel like your best self. So kind of prioritizing both your physical well-being and your mental well-being will definitely help you perform better during your workday.
Thank you. And then just a shameless plug for ServiceNow. We have 9 wellness days built into our time off every year. So if you're looking for a great company that does provide work-life balance, look at ServiceNow. So, and then also, again, just putting in the announcement again for any sort of future events coming up virtually or in person, please feel free to click on that link to see what ServiceNow has coming up. Next, jumping into the networking and mentorship in cybersecurity. Jalen, we'll stick with you on this one. I want to know, how did mentorship or networking influence your career path in cybersecurity?
Yeah, so, and I actually love this question because I feel like I really resonate with, both mentorship and networking. But I feel like for me, both of those things have had a huge influence on my career path in cyber specifically. One of the things I kind of grew up believing, and I still believe to my core, is that it really does take a village. And when I say that, I mean, like, I attribute a lot of the things that I've not only been able to accomplish, but also just the path that I've taken so far to so many other individuals who have kind of helped me get here and have kind of supported me and given me guidance and really just been there for me. And this isn't only just, my friends and family, but it's been professors, it's been, colleagues, classmates, people in the industry that I've, come to know in person, or I've reached out to on LinkedIn. So yeah, and I really think that just having some sort of mentor at kind of all of these mini stages in my life, like during school, during undergrad, during, my career progression so far, also my personal life, it just has really helped. And, just having someone in my corner kind of makes me feel like I can get through certain things because I have someone to kind of reach out to kind of ask for guidance. So yeah, I definitely say a huge influence for both of those things.
Nice. Yeah, that support system is always huge. And Isha, did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, so networking also really helped me get into cybersecurity. When I was first starting out, like even in consulting, I was working on something else, and then there's cybersecurity. I heard about it, and I spoke to a couple of people, showed interest that maybe I want to try this, and that's how I got the cyber engagement. So I think networking is a very important thing, especially when you're starting out. Just learn from people, see what they do in their role, see if it actually interests you as well. Because I know sometimes you might think that you want to do this, but then when you actually get into the role, it's something that isn't really what you want to do. So that, like, networking really helps to understand, if this is something that is of interest, right? And then mentorship is something that will help you grow. So, now that I know that I want to be in cybersecurity, this is my space, I want to be in risk and compliance, mentorship will help me grow in my career. So it's really important to have people to, get feedback, on, how you're performing, ask questions about, what additional skills do I need to grow in my career and move to the next level. So those two really go hand in hand. So, even when it's good to like network with other people to kind of build those relationships within the company, because cybersecurity is such a big field. So I know that my area is risk and compliance, but it's also good to understand, the network team or like the incident response, because you'll all be working together. Cybersecurity, even though you have different fields, like it takes everyone to secure your company. So, yeah.
Nice. Great. Thank you. And then, so when it comes to advice, what's one piece of advice that you wish someone had given you at the start of your cybersecurity career? This goes along with like the networking and mentorship and all that. Jalen, I'll come back to you on this one. Has there been any advice that someone's given you to help start your career in cybersecurity?
Yeah, I think one piece of advice that I've come to know and that I've been told is that to really focus on building strong problem-solving skills from the very beginning, like regardless of if you know what domain of cybersecurity you want to go into. I think it's just a very essential skill to have. And specifically in cyber, just because it's constantly evolving, you're always going to have a unique issue, and you're going to have, unexpected challenges. So that's why, being able to develop a mindset where you can kind of solve issues creatively and also just think quick on your feet, will only, it'll make all the difference and it'll help you in the end. And so I definitely, that would be my advice. And then I'd also recommend just practicing solving skills in different contexts. So you can practice in hypothetical scenarios, you can practice at work, you can practice on a personal project that you take on. But really just exposing yourself to as many kind of issues or problems, whether it's cybersecurity related or not, will kind of help you adapt overall.
Yeah, no, perfect. And Isha, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so I think the cybersecurity landscape is so big. And I know I wish someone told me that I don't need to know everything. So I say this because, when I was starting out, I felt very overwhelmed because there was so much that I didn't know. And I was doubting myself. I'm like, can I be in this field? Like, do I need to know this? I need to know that. But I wish just someone just told me that, when you're starting out, it's all about like learning. You're in that learning phase, just be, I like to think of it as like be a sponge, absorb as much as possible, ask questions, be curious, focus on building those foundations slowly. And then once you've found your niche, and then you can go deeper and get those additional skills and then become a subject matter expert in that area. And that will help you gain your confidence as well. So I know it can seem pretty overwhelming, but just know that, just do your best and then slowly gain those skills over time.
Building blocks. I think many of us have played with Legos over time. You can't just build something with one block. Gotta keep building at it. That's awesome. Great to hear. So now jumping into the last question before we go into the Q&A portion. This is actually going to be a question for all of you, and we'll start with Kriti.
Okay.
What do you think the biggest misconception about cybersecurity careers that new entrants should be aware of?
I feel the biggest misconception is the skills required, like the major skills required to get into cybersecurity. Like there's a misconception that it is a very technical field and you need to be a good coder, you need to know how to pen test, do ethical hacking. I'm not saying that these skills are not important. You should know this, but it's not mandatory. Like if you do not know these skills, it's not like you cannot enter the field of cybersecurity. Like as I was saying before as well, it is a more analytical and problem solving field. And by problem solving, you need to find the potential ways to solve a problem and foresee a problem rather than focusing on you should know how to read a code. But it's not like if you do not know how to write a code, you cannot get into it. And I feel to do so, to be in cybersecurity, like you can be involved in many other ways. For example, compliance and risk assessment. And you can take up threat intelligence and even roles in legal and privacy domains, like understanding the business context, risk management principles, and how you actually communicate those security issues to a non technical stakeholder are as valuable as those technical skills are. So I think rather than going behind this traditional way, as people say, it's very important that someone tries to use their strength and get into the cybersecurity and stop being pulled back by these misconceptions.
Nice. No, very well said. And Isha, did you want to add on to that?
Yes, I definitely agree with everything Kriti has said. I think, I think because of like movies and TV shows where, it's all about like hacking, that's what's shown in what cybersecurity is about. You never see shows explaining that, there's like the non-technical aspect of security, which is very important as well, right? So I think that's the biggest misconception. You could be there's so many non-technical roles in cybersecurity, like, Kriti mentioned, you could be working on, compliance. That's what I work on. Risk assessments, security awareness and training. So I think don't let that hold you back. Definitely, if you're interested in cybersecurity, know that there are opportunities for everyone. So, just see what interests you and then go from there.
Perfect. Yep. Interest and then follow. And then following that, we'll go with Jalen to finish it up.
Yeah, so I definitely agree. I definitely just want to echo everything that Isha and Kriti said. And my view is kind of similar, right? So I think people often think that cybersecurity is all about the technical skills and whether you're like, the best programmer in the world. But I think, some people fail to realize the importance of soft skills, right? Like being able to, communicate communicate like complex security issues and explain that to non-technical people or teams, because I feel like some people might have the misconception that cybersecurity professionals only work with their own team and their own group, when in reality, like, an org is connected. Like, you might have cybersecurity analysts talking to the marketing section of a company, the business section. Like, it kind of just depends on what the issue at hand is. So I think just making sure that you just remember that soft skills are just as important. Like, if you're able to explain something very simply and you're able to work together on a team, it'll make a huge difference.
This is all really, really good advice. I hope everyone's been paying attention. And you can see how these wonderful three women have been successful in their cybersecurity career. That's going to be doing it for our moderated questions. Next, I'm going to pass it back to Rosalie.
Thank you, Jake. And thank you to our incredible panelists. I have been just enjoying, there are so many phenomenal questions that I want to make sure we take up the rest of this time to address them. And please feel free to chime in, whoever feels like they want to speak on this question. The first one is for someone wanting to start their journey in cloud security without a technical background. What do you think is the best roadmap? Wants to take it?
Okay. I'll take this. Okay, so I can't remember. There's this website that actually tells you, like, especially the domains that you're interested in. I'll see if I can find it and I'll paste it in the chat. But it gives you a bit of like a roadmap. So, for example, like cloud security. Okay, these are the things that you need, right? So if I was interested in cloud security, I would probably start off by, the foundation. So the basics. Like, I think the biggest misconception is that, okay, I need to know everything about cloud security to get into this, which is not true. Start with just knowing the basics, knowing the foundations. And then I think I also mentioned in my previous answers, it was look at the job descriptions and then see, okay, what skills that you need and then work off there. So that's how you would build your roadmap. And then also network. So go to, conferences where you will meet people who work in this field and then just work off from there. So hopefully that answers that question.
I can just add one thing to it. When, like, you can add security is one thing that could be added to everything, cloud security or compliance and anything. But as she said, basics, know the cloud. There are so many free versions available. Try to get hands on it and try to explore what are the best practices, what are the services that a cloud can offer, and then think about, like, what do you think in the terms of security? Supposedly there's a service and you're working on it. What comes into your mind if you're putting your work out there? How are you going to secure it? So probably start thinking in that direction, and then whatever Isha said is totally relevant. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you both for that. What courses and certifications did you take that helped the most in getting into cybersecurity domain and being successful in your early years? Jalen, you want to touch on this?
Yeah, I was trying to actually unmute, but I couldn't find the little toggle. But I think for me, so because I was an IT major in undergrad, it kind of differs a little bit. Like my curriculum was very IT heavy, even though I did focus in security in some courses. But while I was an undergrad, I just took it upon myself to kind of just research all the free online resources that there are. Like I think Kriti mentioned it on a different question. You can do Try Hack Me, you can do capture the flag exercises. There's free, study material for, starter certifications like the ones that CompTIA puts out. Security Plus is a great one that I have. I know there's CYSA Plus, I think is the kind of cybersecurity analyst one. So really just doing your research, if you don't have a traditional, undergrad degree or per se or anything, you can definitely still learn and kind of enable yourself with all the resources online as well.
I think Isha, Kriti, anything you'd like to add?
I think I basically watch a lot of YouTube videos. That's how especially in cybersecurity, like I think that's like other cybersecurity creators. So that's how I gain a lot of my knowledge. I also like to kind of keep up to date with what's happening, and I like read a lot and just see what's happening in terms of like, cybersecurity, also like networking. That's how I get my information. So I am working on like certifications, but when I started, that wasn't my journey. That wasn't my path. Like I was really focused on like, people getting knowledge from like other people. So.
But that's really helpful to know, because I think we all learn very differently, and that's why it's phenomenal to have all these different resources. Like some people are going to watch those videos on YouTube, and that's going to be where it's like, yes, this is clicking for me. But other times it's talking with somebody you've networked with and like bouncing an idea off them. So I like that you all had very different ways to go about it, because as I think people need to remind themselves, as we do all take in information in a different capacity. Okay, next question. As a newbie, how do I showcase my technical skills? I have degrees, top 9% on THM, have Security Plus, have certifications from like Fortinet, yet still employers are stating we need to verify your skill set. What's the point of a degree, certification, or platform like THM if employers don't give it credit?
I can take up that one. I feel it's good that you have so much. Like, that's really good. Like, you're in top 9%, you already have a certification. But I think when the point comes, like, someone wants to see those skill set, like, that you actually have a skill set, maybe add projects. Like, when you do the courses, you do the labs, that's fine, you learn through it. But when you actually do some projects, be it personal projects or some projects that come as a part of a course, that actually shows like, okay, these are the skills that you have and that's how you applied them. And that's what they're looking for when they're asking for those credits. They're not asking you to do more certifications or more courses, rather do something that shows that you can implement those skills.
Perfect.
I also just want to add a little note to that. So as Kriti said, like doing personal projects is a phenomenal way to kind of showcase what you learned, how you earned the certification. And with that, I think showcasing it in an efficient way in your resume also helps, right? Especially when you're applying to different jobs, and, when you do get those interviews, kind of talking about how you started the project on day one and ended up with this fully functional, program or whatever it is that you built. I think just shows employers that, one, you can learn something, you can take a course, you can kind of sponge in all that information, but then you can also apply yourself and kind of turn it into something real.
Thank you, Jalen. Thank you, Kriti. And then, Jake, there's actually a question in here for you. So you ready? Is the ServiceNow internship open to cybersecurity undergrads?
Yes, we do have a couple security openings still available. I put the link, it's on the announcements right now. There is a link to our career site. And if you scroll to early career, that'll show all of our security internships that we have. It will be labeled SSO for ServiceNow Security Organization. So I believe we have about 5 posted on there still available that we are just continuously looking for.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And please feel free to drop in the questions if you're not seeing that announcement. Sometimes if you click out or close it, it stops displaying for you. So just shoot us a message through questions if that is not available for you. Next would be any advice to new graduates. Most of the job postings for SOC or cyber analyst or incident response require 3 to 4 years of previous experience, and finding it very hard to get any interviews. Any chance on how they're able to just stand out and get a chance to have an interview? Yeah, I feel like I've seen a couple of those questions. Like, how do they get in the door? How do they ask? Like, get in that? Is there certain words they should be putting on a resume? Any tips and tricks? Because I think that's the hardest thing when you're switching industries is like, how do I get in here?
I can
Yeah.
answer.
I don't know. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
So,
go ahead.
yeah, when you're doing like your undergrad or your grad study, you're working, I feel like you do your internships on the side, like in the summer or something, you get time on. And then you sometimes also do part time work. I think focus on that. Try to bring that out and highlight the things that you learned during those part times or the internships. When someone is asking for like 3 to 4 years of experience, as you're saying, it's not mandatory that you have those 3 to 4 years of experience, particularly in cybersecurity. It is good if you do, but if you do not, try to highlight that can add value to the job that you're applying to. For example, for a part time, you could be doing something that enhances your soft skills. And soft skills are also a very important skill to have to be in cybersecurity. Highlight those skills, highlight how you gained and how you actually made that skill do something totally amazing there. Put it out on the resume, and that would help you.
Good. You want to also chime in?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I would say utilize AI. So what I mean by that is get the job description, paste it in the chat GPT and ask chat GPT, what are the keywords that I should be putting in my resume? Because I think at the moment, job market is very saturated. So it's really hard to get your resume past those, systems like that are screening it, right? So identify those keywords and then try to tailor your resume for the job you're applying for. So I think that is probably one of my biggest tips. That will increase your chances of being seen, or getting past or getting through that interview stage. So.
And Rosalie, if I can just jump in real quick from a recruiter standpoint,
Yeah.
and give you like a little peek behind the curtain of how we operate, and look to Isha's point, keywords are what we're looking for. A lot of times, like recruiters, like if we get, sometimes 100, 200, 300 applications, to sort of sift through that, like we're meeting with the teams, we're figuring out what they need what they're looking for. And then we're going back to these resumes and doing like Boolean searches for specific keywords. So the more times that those show up in your resume, that's going to jump up to the top of like what we're seeing. So keywords are huge, but also stuff like this, like you guys are doing the right things by showing up to events like this, showing up to events where companies are at. You never know who you're going to meet, if it's a hiring manager, anything like that. Being a part of clubs, being a part of organizations like networking, that's going to play a major part for maybe not getting your resume seen immediately, but, like Kriti said, like those soft skills. If you're just talking with someone and you don't realize it's a hiring manager, but they're like, holy cow, like this person can communicate. Like, you just never know what doors those are going to open. So just wanted to add that piece.
Oh, that's a very helpful piece because there's the back end side with the recruiters, sifting through everything. And then there's that side that, we see when you're applying for jobs. So I think it's nice that to see both and how to do that. And for using Isha technology to our advantage. I know that's when I had been previously applying for jobs. I use ChatGPT. I had it like, if it was a job I really wanted, I was like, okay, what do I need to be putting in this resume? And it's not like we can just use the same resume for every single job. You have to be very mindful. So I think that was a really great advice. So thank you both for speaking on both aspects of looking. Okay, I'm trying to get us through all these questions. There's so many. So one, thank you everyone for submitting them because there are a lot, and we will be getting through them. If we don't, and we will not, please feel free to connect with all of the panelists and Jake and myself on LinkedIn if you want to continue these conversations, because unfortunately, we will not get through everything. My question is, with having technical experience, is it necessary to create a portfolio or at home to pivot into cybersecurity? Thank you all for your valuable session and providing insight. I feel like we addressed this one, but do you want to hit on it again?
Again, just from a recruiter standpoint, I can tell you that managers I work with ask for that. They like to see it. But I will say, if you're going to put like a GitHub account or something like that on there, make sure that you're having inputs on your, like, don't have something on there. And then when a team member goes and looks at it and there's nothing, like you have no like deposits on it for a while, then it's like, okay, like, how interested are you? Like, so I would say if it's on there, make sure you're putting inputs, but it is nice to see it. And teams do look at it.
I think a key thing is kind of making sure or at least I think it would be really helpful if you're as well-rounded as possible, right? So if you have, traditional schooling, if you have some certs, personal projects, if you have a home lab, like I feel like that would only better your chances, right? Especially for some positions that may be looking for that specific experience, kind of to what Jake just said. So yeah, I don't think it can hurt. I think it can only kind of better your chances.
And then speaking into that home lab, how much did a personal home lab projects and like the play that helped play into your networking and growth and to have a successful career? Did you find those were very helpful for any of you?
I think I can answer this one. So when we're talking about the home lab projects and play into networking growth, so this was for me that came through my master's, but I think they have like many companies also open this. Like just like CDFs, there are like day challenges or something where you get to build your project or build like something, use their platform. Like I know AWS does that sometimes. They give you like open the platform, you use the AWS cloud, you can use you won't be charged, you can use anything and everything. So I think that's the time where you actually put, like you were waiting on like something I get, like something I want to try. That's the time you can actually participate and do your thing. And when it comes to networkings, as Jake was mentioning, these events like this, there are going to be people you don't know who you're going to meet there. So try to keep an eye out and just keep looking for these events and apply whenever you see an opportunity.
Cool. And another question is asking, is it better to go through the traditional education route when getting into cybersecurity, like doing your master's, or is it better to just get into the industry doing the certifications? And this is coming from somebody with not a technical background.
I think I could take that. I was just answering a similar question. So I think first get into the field. I think experience is more important than trying to get like your master's or your PhD or something like that, right? I'm not saying that it's not important. Like it's really useful, but first work to get into that field, and then like network, see what's out there, see if this is something that you're interested in, and then after you've sort of gotten that experience, then you can move to like getting your master's or your PhD. I was just about to answer this question in the chat, so I just
Jalen or Kriti, do you want to tie in a little bit or go to the next one?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little note. So at least for me, I think, especially because cybersecurity is so kind of adaptable, it kind of depends on what your end goal is, right? Like I have a traditional, undergrad degree. I'm doing my master's now, but I also know people in the field who didn't go to, traditional schools, but learned on the job. They did a whole bunch of certs, they moved around different roles in security, and they're very successful, right? So I think it kind of depends, one, what your interests are, and kind of what you envision yourself doing like in the future? Like, do you want to go into management? Do you want to stay in more of like an IC role? So yeah, I think it kind of depends. I don't think there's one kind of per se straight path, right? When you're doing cyber.
And I totally agree with Jalen. That's exactly my thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you all for chiming in on that question. So we are at time, and I want to make sure I take a second to thank all of our incredible panelists and moderator. Thank you for joining us today. It was an incredibly enlightening webinar, and the questions we weren't able to get to are showing that. Please feel free to connect with all of us on LinkedIn. We will gladly continue that conversation. Is there anything else you would like to leave the viewers with before we close out?
I think just believe in yourself. Don't be underconfident. Focus on your strengths, and you got this. It's not that tough to get into cybersecurity. So just keep working on that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And like, if you need help, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. And if you have further questions, I'd love to like help out where I can.
Same goes for me.
Yeah, same here. Please reach out, and please also remember to be patient and to be kind to yourselves, right? Like it's a work in progress. And as you guys have heard from everything we've said, there's challenges, right? But it's all about how you kind of overcome them and how you kind of put yourself out there as well.
Thank you all. Thank you for ending on such a positive note. I hope everyone has a spectacular rest of your day. And again, thank you to our incredible panelists and moderator from ServiceNow. And thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.